Welcome back. The Washington quarter isn't just pocket change. It's a piece of American history. First minted in 1932, this coin has seen war, peace, and everything in between. But here's the twist. Some quarters are hiding rare secrets, worth big money. Let's dive in and uncover the ones that could change your collection forever. 1984 D Washington Quarter. Now, you're probably looking at this coin thinking, it's just a quarter. It's got that typical look of a coin that's been through decades of pockets, purses, and piggy banks. Scratches here, a bit of grime there, and the usual wear on Washington's profile. But what if I told you this very coin, this everyday, circulated 1984 D quarter, could have a secret value? A value that could shock you. Because while most 1984 D quarters are worth face value, a few have sold for prices that could pay off your credit card debt, maybe even put a down payment on a car. Sounds wild, right? Let's dig into it. The 1984 D quarter was minted in Denver, and like most quarters of its era, it was struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition. The Denver Mint produced over 546 million of these coins. More than 500 million. That's a lot of quarters. Most of them look just like this one, circulated, common, and easy to overlook. But here's where it gets interesting. 1984 D is known among collectors for some striking mint errors and surprising die varieties that have sold for thousands. First, let's talk about a very famous error that haunts this date. The double die obverse. While rare, some 1984 D quarters have been found with a doubled image on the front, especially on the word Liberty and the date. If you ever see the letters look thicker, shadowed, or like they're stamped twice, don't hesitate. That's your cue to grab a magnifying glass and look again, because that could easily push your quarter's value from 25 cents to over $1,000. Then there's the extremely rare off-center strike error. Imagine a coin where Washington's head is way off to one side or even partially missing. These errors were caused by misaligned blanks during the minting process. A 1984 D quarter struck 15 to 20% off-center with a clear date, and mint mark has sold for over $2,500. That's right, just because it was struck wrong. One collector's flaw is another's treasure. But wait, it gets even better. Ever heard of the wrong plancher error? That's when a coin is struck on a blank meant for another denomination, like a nickel or penny. One known 1984 D quarter was accidentally struck on a penny-sized copper plancher. It came out reddish, thinner, and weighed much less. That coin sold at auction for over $6,000. That's a huge payoff for what looks like a coin that somehow went to the tanning salon. Even more mind-blowing? A known 1984 D quarter was struck on a foreign coin blank, an error that occurred because the U.S. Mint sometimes produced coins for other countries. If your quarter looks small, discolored, or just plain weird, don't ignore it. It could be one of these oddballs worth tens of thousands. Now let's come back to your coin. It's circulated, yes. The edges may be smooth, the face may be faded, and the shine long gone. But what you have is a coin from an era full of surprises. Even in circulated condition, a 1984 D quarter with the right error can fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars. Look closely. Check for doubling. Inspect the weight, compare it to another quarter. If anything seems off, even just a little, that could be the sign of something rare hiding in plain sight. Collectors don't just want perfect coins, they want coins with a story. And a 1984 D with a dramatic minting error tells a story of chaos on the production line, a moment of chance, and a rare survivor that slipped through the cracks. And the best part? These valuable finds are still out there, still being discovered, in pocket change, old jars, and family coin boxes just like yours. So don't overlook the 1984 D Washington quarter just because it looks ordinary. Because buried in that ordinary surface could be a one-of-a-kind minting mistake worth $8,000 or more. And with every coin we explore, the values are only getting bigger and more unbelievable. Coming up next might be the most shocking discovery. Yet, so stay with me, because the next coin could blow the lid off everything you thought you knew about pocket change. 1966. Washington Quarter. At first glance, this scratched-up silver-toned coin doesn't look like much. The shine is mostly gone. There are nicks, dings, and wear from decades of use. The face of George Washington is worn smooth in places, and the fine details of the eagle on the reverse are faded. It looks like the kind of coin you'd get back in a handful of change at a gas station, and not think twice about. But what if I told you that under those scratches, behind the damage, this coin could be worth not just dollars, but hundreds, even thousands? That's right. This 1966 Washington quarter, if it has just one rare error or was struck on the wrong metal, could absolutely explode in value. Some examples have fetched jaw-dropping prices that no one expects from such a common-looking coin. Let's go back in time for a moment. In 1966, the United States Mint was still reeling from the coin shortage of the early 60s. Silver prices had gone up dramatically, and the U.S. Mint had made a major decision. Quarters would no longer be made of silver. That change had started in 1965, and by 1966, all quarters were made with a copper-nickel-clad composition. The old 90% silver coins were gone from circulation fast, hoarded by the millions. Now, here's where things get exciting. During this transitional time, there were major minting inconsistencies. The mint was under enormous pressure to produce as many coins as possible, as fast as possible. That led to rushed quality checks and a higher chance of mistakes. Some of those mistakes made it into circulation, and they're now worth serious money. We're talking about coins struck on leftover silver planchets from 1964. If a 1966 quarter was mistakenly struck on a silver blank, you've got something that should not exist. And these coins are rare, very rare. But they do exist. And when they show up, collectors go absolutely wild. One such coin sold for over $7,000, simply because it had been struck on a silver planchet in error. The weight gave it away. It was heavier than a normal 1966 quarter. So here's your first clue. Weigh your coin. A normal 1966 quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. If yours weighs around 6.25 grams, you could be holding a silver error worth thousands, even if it's scratched. That's the wild part. These coins don't need to be perfect. They just need to be rare. And then there's the double die errors. These are coins where parts of the design, letters, numbers, even Washington's face, were accidentally stamped twice, slightly off. Some 1966 quarters have minor doubling that's barely visible without magnification. Others are more dramatic, and collectors will pay hundreds for them even in beat-up condition. But hold on, we're not done yet. There's another incredible 1966 error that's been recorded. The quarter struck on a dime planchet. That means a quarter was accidentally stamped onto a smaller blank meant for a 10-cent coin. These coins look weird. The outer design is cut off, the coin is visibly smaller, and they have a distinct, unusual feel. One of these sold for over $3,000, all because it was an accident that wasn't caught in time. And then there are coins struck with broad strikes or off-center errors, where part of the design spills out of the normal circular edge. These types of errors are dramatic, and they're hot in the collector world. Even circulated examples can go for hundreds if the error is clear. Now, the coin you're holding might just look scratched and worn, but don't count it out yet. Those scratches don't erase its history. In fact, they might even tell the story of a coin that's been passed hand to hand through decades of American life. Gas stations, soda machines, laundromats, and more. But every once in a while, someone finds one with that small but powerful difference. A weight that's just a bit too heavy. A design that's just a bit off. A rim that's not quite right. That's the thrill of coin collecting. It's not always the shiny ones that surprise you. Sometimes it's the coins that look the most average, that end up being anything but. So take another look at that 1966 quarter. Even with the scratches, it could be a hidden treasure. It could be silver. It could be a rare minting error. And if you spot something unusual, you might just have a coin worth more than $10,000 on your hands. Keep watching, because every coin we uncover seems more unbelievable than the last. And trust me, the next one might just be the shocker that tops them all. The 1980 D Washington quarter. Now, this coin, it might just look like your everyday change, tucked away in a forgotten drawer, with some rust on the front and the usual wear from years in circulation. But let me tell you, this exact year, this exact mint mark, and this exact condition, you could be holding something that's far more valuable than anyone would expect. Because under that rust and ordinary face could be one of the most shocking error types ever found in late 20th century American coinage. Let's break it down. This quarter was struck in 1980 at the Denver Mint. That's what the little D mint mark stands for, tucked to the right of Washington's neck. Now, if you know coins, you know that Denver was cranking out quarters by the hundreds of millions at the time. The country was in the middle of inflation, interest rate hikes, and economic tension. These coins were made to move, made to work, hard, just like the people carrying them. This one's a Washington quarter. And the design? Pure American legacy. The front features the profile of George Washington, America's first president. His portrait was created all the way back in 1932 by John Flanagan, and it remained the standard for decades. On this coin, you'll see Liberty, arched above his head, the date 1980 stamped below, and the national motto, "In God We Trust," placed just to the left. Now, your coin is described as circulated with some rust on the front. That's a sign it's been through a lot. It's seen hands, pockets, perhaps a drop in the rain, or a long stay in a forgotten coffee tin. That rust isn't just oxidation, it's a story. But here's the thing. In the world of numismatics, sometimes what looks like damage is actually a disguise for value. See, rust on the front could indicate exposure to moisture, but it could also be a sign of an improper plancher. A small batch of 1980 D quarters were struck on foreign coin blanks by mistake. Blanks meant for coins from countries like the Philippines, or even tokens. These off-metal planchets didn't have the same alloy consistency, and they corroded faster, leading collectors to first overlook them, and then rush to find them. One such error quarter sold for $1,680. Why? Because it was struck on a copper planchet meant for a 1-cent coin. Imagine a quarter that weighs like a penny. Errors like this happened when blanks got mixed during mint operations. A freak event, but not impossible. Another shocking sale? A 1980 D quarter with a full reverse die clash, where the design of the reverse got imprinted onto the front by mistake, fetched nearly $3,000 at auction. Then we get to the missing clad layer error. These are some of the wildest Washington quarter errors. When a quarter is missing one layer of its metal coating, it shows a deep copper tone, almost like a penny. Some even call them copper quarters. And guess what? 1980D had a few of these slip out. One authenticated example recently sold for over $4,500 because it was in nearly perfect condition. Now, let's not pretend every circulated quarter with rust is worth thousands. Most aren't. But the rare few, the ones with missing layers, misstrikes, off-center designs, or foreign planche, those can absolutely skyrocket in value. And your coin, with its rusted appearance, might just be one of those overlooked gems. Here's what to look for. Weight it. If it weighs less than 5.67 grams, it might be an error planche. Look at the edge. Is the copper layer unusually thick or missing? Check the front for ghost images or odd impressions, especially around Washington's neck and face. These could be die clashes. Flip it over and inspect the reverse. If anything looks off-center or weakly struck, you might have a valuable misalignment. And there's also the human factor. This coin has survived over 4 decades of American history. It was minted during the Carter-Reagan transition, through economic strife, Cold War tension, and all the way to today's digital world. Who held it? What stories passed through it? Every dent, scratch, and yes, even every speck of rust adds to its living journey. But what really sends the value over the top is if your coin matches one of these rare minting mishaps. Because when a common quarter shows uncommon traits, collectors jump fast and they pay big. So don't clean it, don't dismiss it. Get a magnifying glass, or even better, get it looked at by a coin expert. You might be staring at a rust-covered coin, hiding a multi-thousand-dollar secret. And next, we're going back even further. A coin from the mid-70s with a minting mystery that's still unsolved. One that could fetch $10,000 or more. But only if you know exactly what to look for. Keep watching. This next one is a shocker. 1981 D. Washington Quarter. This little silver-gray piece of American change might seem like just another quarter you've handled 1,000 times. Tossed into pockets, spent on gas, maybe dropped into vending machines over the years. But this specific coin, minted in Denver in 1981, could be hiding a secret. At first glance, it looks like just a regular quarter. Nothing fancy. It's circulated, yes, worn a bit, showing its age with some smoothing along the edges and the expected surface marks. But what if I told you that even in this worn, circulated condition, this 1981 D quarter might be far more than its face value? That it could, under the right conditions, be worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars. That's right. One simple coin from 1981. One letter, D for Denver, and a world of possibilities. Let's start with the basics. The design is the classic Washington quarter design used from 1932 to 1998. On the obverse, the iconic profile of George Washington, sculpted with dignity, facing left. You see the word liberty arched above him. In God we trust to the left. And the date, 1981, right at the bottom. Flip the coin, and you'll find the bold American eagle perched on a bundle of arrows, wings spread in majesty, symbolizing strength and readiness. A true representation of American pride. Now, the Denver Mint struck nearly 575 million of these 1981 quarters. That's a huge number. So you'd think this coin couldn't possibly be rare or valuable, right? Well, here's the twist. The value doesn't lie in how many were made. It lies in what went wrong during that minting process. And this is where it gets wild. First, let's talk off-center strikes. This is one of the most shocking and collectible types of errors in modern U.S. coinage. A 1981 D quarter struck just 15% off center, still showing most of Washington's face, sold for nearly $500. And that was a circulated coin, just like the one we're holding. If that strike had been off-center by 40% or more, and still showed a clear date and mint mark, that value could triple, even quadruple, pushing over $2,000 at auction. But it gets crazier. Some 1981 D quarters were struck on the wrong metal planchets. Planchets meant for nickels or even foreign coins. One such quarter, accidentally minted on a copper-nickel blank intended for a 5-cent piece, ended up weighing only 5 grams instead of the standard 5.67. A collector spotted the error, submitted it for grading, and guess what? That coin sold for more than $3,000. And that's not even the top. Let's talk double die obverse. That's where the front of the coin was struck twice, slightly misaligned. You might notice the doubling in the word liberty, or in God we trust, or the date itself, 1981. These types of errors are highly collectible and can send prices soaring. A double die, 1981 D Washington quarter in average condition could easily be worth $1,500 or more. In near mint state, try $5,000 or even higher. Then there's the matter of high grades. Believe it or not, a seemingly normal 1981 D quarter, with no visible errors but in an uncirculated, almost flawless state, graded MS-67 or MS-68, can go for a stunning price. One high-grade coin sold at auction for over $1,900, just because of its pristine condition and brilliant luster. So now, think again about this circulated coin. Even with the wear, even with the age, it's not out of the question for a valuable error to be hiding in plain sight. Maybe it's a slightly off-center strike. Maybe there's some faint doubling on the date. Maybe it weighs differently than expected. Maybe it's just that one-in-a-million misprint that slipped through quality control back in 1981 and made its way into your hands. And here's the best part. These kinds of coins are still out there. In old coin jars, in change drawers, in garage sale boxes. This isn't just some faraway fantasy. Every day, collectors are discovering rare errors that have been overlooked for decades. So the next time you spot a Washington quarter with a D and the date 1981, don't just toss it in your change pile. Look closer. Feel the weight. Examine the edges. Pull out a magnifying glass and study every letter. Because what seems like a regular worn old coin just might be your unexpected treasure. And if that doesn't make you take a second look, at every quarter you come across, wait until you see the next coin in our lineup. You're not going to believe what someone found hiding in their pocket change. Stay with us. The surprises are just getting started. 1974, Washington quarter dollar without a mint mark. At first glance, it might seem like just another old coin from your change jar, but hold up, this isn't just any quarter. It's from a time when America was changing fast, politically, socially, even economically. And when it comes to coins, 1974 was the calm before a storm in U.S. currency history. What we're about to dive into might sound like a simple story about a 25-cent piece. But buckle in, because the value behind this coin, especially under the right circumstances, has shocked collectors and stunned auction houses. Now, let's talk about the coin itself. If your 1974 Washington quarter doesn't have a mint mark, it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Back in those days, Philadelphia didn't use a mint mark on its coins, which makes them look clean and simple. But don't let that fool you. The devil's in the details. This coin features the classic Washington profile on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan. A stoic portrait of America's first president facing left, liberty above his head, and the date 1974 below. On the reverse, the familiar eagle stands proud, wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath. It's the standard design we all remember from our pockets growing up. But what makes this quarter special? Let's see. Start with the mintage. Over 801 million of these quarters were minted in Philadelphia alone. That's a massive number. So in worn, circulated condition, most of these quarters are still worth, yes, just 25 cents, maybe 50 cents to a dollar, to a beginning collector. But when the condition improves, or the coin reveals something unusual, that's where things get wildly interesting. Here's what gets collectors excited. The 1974 Doubled Die Obverse, DDO. That's right. Some 1974 quarters from Philadelphia came out with a strong doubling on the obverse. If you look closely at In God We Trust or Liberty, you might see clear, bold, shadow-like letters, a telltale sign of a doubled die. These aren't just minor imperfections. These are rare, minting anomalies, and they can send values skyrocketing. A strong DDO in a high grade could easily fetch $250 to $1,000, sometimes more. Next up, condition. This is where the serious money comes into play. A 1974 Washington quarter with no mint mark, in perfect mint state 67 or higher, can go from pocket change to hundreds, even over $1 in $200 at auction. Why? Because out of the millions minted, only a tiny fraction survive in pristine condition without any contact marks, scratches, or wear. They must be sharp, lustrous, and virtually flawless. That rarity drives serious bidding wars at numismatic auctions. But there's one more twist in the 1974 story, and it's jaw-dropping. In late 1974, the U.S. Mint began preparing for a massive change. They were experimenting with aluminum cents. Yes, actual pennies made of aluminum instead of copper. But here's the kicker. A few quarters, accidentally, were struck on the wrong planchets during this experimental phase. Some rare 1974 quarters were minted on foreign coin blanks, or struck, using experimental planchets that were never meant to be released. These errors are ultra-rare, and in some cases have fetched up to $10,000 or more, especially if the coin's origin and metallurgical content can be confirmed through analysis. Imagine this. You're holding a 1974 quarter. It looks ordinary. You flip it, maybe give it a rub with your thumb. But wait, what if it feels too light? Or too heavy? What if the color's slightly off? Or the edges seem strange? That's the moment you dig deeper. Because you might just be holding something incredibly rare. A mistake the mint never meant to let slip. A coin that could be the highlight of your collection or your retirement fund. And let's not forget the emotional power of these coins. For many collectors aged 50 to 75, this is more than metal. It's memory. 1974 was a time of Watergate, gas shortages, and new beginnings. Having a quarter from that year, especially one with unusual traits or exceptional condition, is like holding a piece of your own story, a tangible link to the past. So don't underestimate this unassuming little coin. A 1974 Washington quarter without a mint mark might just look like spare change, but under the right light, with the right error, or in the right grade, it could be a shockingly valuable treasure waiting to be discovered. And what we've got coming next? It just might blow this one out of the water. Stay close, because the surprises are far from over.